Emotional mastery comes with 3 levels, and today I'll be guiding you through all of these levels, starting from level 0 and ending at level 3. Trust me, you'll want to stick around to the end because this is going to be an ultimate guide to controlling your emotions. Hey, I'm Chris, a random guy on the internet who decided to share his emotions after battling anxiety, overthinking, and self-confidence for years. I decided enough is enough, so I took down the path of researching all the things that I needed to conquer these problems. And now I'm giving those solutions to you so that way you don't have to go down that path and waste all that time, energy, and resources. Without further ado, enjoy the video. Level 0 is awareness. And since you're here, congratulations, you've made it past level 0. But it's still important to mention a few things here which somebody may have overlooked. Most people are going to live reactive throughout their entire lives. And what I mean is that people like to emotionally respond instantly. They won't ever think about it. They won't ever even realize that it's happening to them. And if you know somebody like that, share them this video so that way they can learn from this too. A couple other things. They think that's just who they are. A lot of people believe that their identity stems from their emotions, but it's actually the other way around. So I'm going to clear up that throughout the video as well. And in addition to that, nobody actually teaches the skill of emotional mastery because they'll just tell you how to conquer 1 or 2 emotions at a time, or they'll tell you their own worldview on how to be stoic or how to be whatever. But emotional mastery comes from the individual being able to respond in a way that suits them best. Not everybody is going to want to be a stoic or someone who neglects all of their emotions and suppresses them. Different people require different solutions, so this is going to be a guideline for you so that you can individually apply this to yourself and change your own emotions and not follow someone else's footsteps. And at the end of the day, it's not about suppression or any kind of egotistical or toxic positivity, because a lot of people think that their emotions either need to be at an all-time high or at an all-time low, but in reality, it fluctuates. So don't be afraid of feeling sad or happy once or twice. It'll be okay. It'll baseline out eventually, and it'll probably go up as you experience life in general. Emotional mastery is a skill that has a lot of levels to it, but they're very clear, and I'll guide you through those levels throughout the video. And in addition, you can identify where you are. You'll be able to level up, obviously, and then each skill that you get will be building on the previous one. So it's very important to not skip around because otherwise you're going to be very confused. And after that, you'll learn how to actually manage your own emotions in any scenario. Level 0 was awareness, and level 1 is recognition. Now, what's the difference? Awareness is understanding that your emotions actually do control how you respond to situations. That's it. But recognition is actually digging deeper and understanding, well, what are the emotions that I'm feeling? Why am I feeling them? These types of questions are going to be in level 1. So being able to name what you're feeling in the moment. This one is surprisingly difficult for newcomers. So please take time in trying to figure out what your emotions actually are. Since most people starting, they have a very limited emotional vocabulary. They'll say, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm guilty, I'm this. But they have about 4 or 5 words and that's it. They don't describe anything else. And then when a different emotion arises, they just get confused because they don't know what they're looking at. So it's very important to keep in mind that your emotions are going to be something that you need to identify very clearly in order to develop a response that is suited for you in that situation. A great way to practice this really quickly is to just help yourself by expanding your emotional vocabulary. Literally look up wheel of emotions and just, I'll put an image here. And you can look at the words that are on the wheel, and if you find one that's new that you don't know of, say it out loud in the sentence or write it down. So that way you remember what that word is. And then when that emotion arises, you'll be able to call on, oh, this is frustration, not anxiety or whatever, instead of just feeling bad. That way you get specificity and you can identify the problem and actually solve it at the root cause. However, don't get it twisted. Emotional mastery is not just about recognition. A lot of people think it is because they just look at recognition and they go, oh wow, I can recognize the emotion. And they get this high burst of dopamine because they learned a new skill. But that's not all there is to emotional control. So it's very important to keep that in mind. Level 2. This is understanding. This is more about why we feel the emotions and what triggers it, what's going on underneath, and how we can get through to that understanding. So the first vital tip for you to understand is that emotions are not instructions. They are information. This is so important for people at level 2 to learn, because a lot of people, no, all people who are at level 1 or below, they only understand emotions as an instruction to act upon in their day-to-day lives. They don't ever think about, oh, how could I change it in a way where I don't have to act on this anger or this frustration or this anxiety, right? You can just not act on it. That is an option. But most people never even realize that because they don't think outside the box. So understanding that, we can now move on to the depths of level 2, which is the understanding of that vital tip is what's going to give you options on how to respond in that scenario. So to help you out, right, I have a couple things listed here which I'm going to read off to you. Anger might mean a boundary was crossed. Anxiety might mean something matters to you, and each emotion is telling you something. The point of these things that I just said is that when you respond to somebody, that happened because of the input that was put in there before. So whatever made you angry or anxious or upset, please remember that, because that's what's going to get you into that next level of understanding, and then you'll be able to respond to that knowing the source or what the problem was in the first place. Now, a great way to practice this, because obviously it's easy to think about in reflection, but in the present moment, the best way to practice this is to ask yourself, what is the emotion trying to tell me? Now, this sounds like someone's being fucking schizo and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? But the emotion is always telling you that there's something going on underneath. Hiding your problems under the rug, eventually they could be pulled right back out. But you have to be the one to pull them out. See, that's where the growth happens in a person, because a lot of times, especially with emotions, they tend to bury them and suppress them, and they put them under that rug. Eventually, you're going to have to pull them out of the rug and confront that and realize that, hey, this is something I need to take care of. So that's where this step ends and level 3 really begins. And another warning about this level is that in level 2, a lot of people try to outthink the emotion, which isn't possible. And I'm not saying this to be mean, but you can't outthink your feelings. It's the same way of trying to outsniff yourself from a cocaine addiction. It's not gonna happen. So it's very important to understand that the message of the emotion is not entirely logical. It's not going to be. Sometimes it will be, but sometimes it won't. So please understand that your emotions and logic are entirely different and that they should not be connected to each other, especially when you're trying to discover yourself and think about how you respond to emotions in the present moment. Now, level 3 is a response. This is the level we're all trying to get to. I even struggle with this sometimes, but choosing what you do with the emotion, the pause between feeling and acting, these are the 2 skills that actually identify a person as someone who has mastered their emotions. Now, I'm not saying you have to be a stoic or anything like that, because a lot of people think that emotional mastery is an identity of some sort, but it really isn't. It's actually just simply these 2 skills right here. If you can master these 2 skills, you have emotional mastery. You don't have to be a stoic. You don't have to be some other form of person. You can just be you and have that additional skill on top of it. So why does this matter? Because this is where the power begins. For the person who's experiencing the emotion, if they're able to pause that emotion and then respond in a way that's meaningful for not only themselves, but for the other person, that is a true sign of emotional mastery. So how do we get here? The easy way to say it is just go out into the real world and try it out. But you're not going to try it out perfectly the first time. And it's not going to be perfect for the 100th time. Hell, maybe even the 1,000th time. But what can happen is that you'll slowly build that skill, and then eventually you'll understand how to just pause and let things go. That's the best way for you to control your emotions, because here's how emotions work, 101. When you're having a conversation with somebody, they might bring up something that makes you upset. And now there's 2 ways to go about it. You can either, in a healthy way, number 1, you can tell them that you were upset by it, or number 2, you can wait out that emotion, that anger, because 99% of the time, it's not worth it. And if you even go down that path of just immediately spurting out anger, it's not going to be fun for you or the other person who's receiving it. You're going to end up in an argument. You're going to end up delaying or damaging that relationship, and it's not going to be the best thing for you and the people around you. So, having that conscious choice of knowing what the emotion is, understanding why we have that emotion in the first place, and then responding to it in a way that helps yourself, that is the best way that you can master your own emotions. Now, a couple of more practical tips to practicing this is the 90-second rule. You can ride the wave without feeling it, and it sounds kind of weird saying it out loud, but if you take your emotion and you just wait out some time, that emotion fades away, and eventually you never even think about it again. It's not like you're holding it, it's not like you're putting it under the rug or holding a grudge or anything like that. It's really just about emotional control. Most people will live their entire lives at level 1, or maybe even level 0. They won't even be aware of the fact that their emotions are controlling who they are and how they act. So the fact that you've made it this far in a video means great news for you, because you're probably on the right track to being able to control your emotions and master them in a way that helps you and the people around you. Without further ado, thank you and have a good day.